So we're going to talk about the cost of homeownership, and hopefully this answers some questions on, I know we've been hearing a lot of buyers say it might be too expensive to purchase or have some concerns about purchasing in this market. We're going to plug in real numbers to give you a really good idea, the long-term benefits of homeownership. So I have a couple of our agents here. Would love for them to give me feedback on some real life examples that they've encountered. Maybe we can start with you, Fatima. Can you share with us a scenario that a buyer is going through right now, and we'll plug it in and review the numbers together.
For sure. So I have a buyer right now in contract for $620,000.
Okay.
This property is approved with the Eagle Loan Program with First Republic, so he's able to get the 3.75 rate with 20% down.
Perfect.
So that would be the best scenario right now.
Perfect. And we kind of had a brief conversation about it already, so we plugged in the numbers, but let's review it together. I'm going to highlight it here for you to see. So the property value in contract is at $620,000. Mm-hmm. The loan amount is 80%, which comes down to $496,000. There's obviously 12 payments in a year, once per month. It's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. The interest is 3.75%, which brings our PITI payments per month to $22.89.90. We pulled up the last 30 plus or minus years of average annual appreciation, and we estimated it to be 5.4%. We didn't estimate it, that was the number we pulled. And at the bottom here, we have calculations on what monthly payments look like in a whole year. So this $27,478 is multiplying this pretty much by 12 months. So we get the annual payment of how much we're paying our mortgage. And then the first year appreciation is a 5.4% of the investment amount, the purchase price of $620,000. Now, this is what we call positive leverage, when the first year appreciation is greater than your PITI or your PI payments within the first year. Now, not all properties are going to look like this. Sometimes it's going to be positive leverage by year 3, year 5, year 10. In this case, year 1, you're already positive leverage. What do I mean by that? Let's look at the details. In year 1, your mortgage payments amounts to the number we already kind of talked about, $27,000. However, because the appreciation in year 1 is 33, that difference is actually a gain, which then we call positive leverage. The other thing in observation that people should know is, of that total mortgage payment that's made, a part of it is interest, but a part of it is what we call principal paydown. Principal paydown means the money you owe to the bank, a year, 2 years, 5 years, eventually 30 years, you're going to fully pay off, that decreases over time. And it accelerates in the amount that you pay towards principal as the loan matures over time. So by year 5, you would have made $137,000 in mortgage payments because they're fixed. Part of that is interest, which is $86,000, which means the difference, which in this case is over $40,000, $50,000, went towards principal paydown, which means you're building more equity. Not only that, 5 years after ownership, assuming 5.4% annual compounded appreciation, your property would have gained $186,000 in appreciation. Now, some people are going to ask, well, these are our funny numbers. In some ways it is. These are estimations. But let's say you keep yourself as a renter. Fatima, what's an estimate amount of rent that this person would be paying for the same size space that they're buying?
At least $3,500.
So let's take 3,500 times 12. That gives us a year cost of $42,000 times 5 years. The same 5 years if you stayed a renter, assuming no rent increase, this person would pay $210,000 in rent payment.
And
now,
you'll never get back.
You never get back. You're not building equity. We haven't even talked about tax benefits of paying interest either, right? But
Mm-hmm.
let's look at the two sides of the spectrum. One is you're paying rent, which is a sunken cost of $210,000. The other is you've appreciated $186,000 on your property, and you've gained over $50,000 in equity principal pay down. You add those two numbers together, that variance of negative 210 to positive 230,000 or so, that's a variance of almost $400 to $500,000 of net worth difference between the two scenarios. Although it takes 5 years, it takes 3, it takes 1 year to start this, and it takes a little bit of a hurdle to purchase your first home, going through some of the headaches of the escrow, writing the offer, competing against other people, think about your payments. The long-term benefits should be pretty obvious from this example.
Absolutely. And then, so this is a good scenario based on the lower interest rate. But let's just say someone's getting a regular loan. And I believe the rates have gone from a little bit over 7%. Now it's probably about 6.625, I think.
Okay.
That's kind of the going rate right now.
You want to use
6.25.
So
That's better from a week ago.
Yep. So your mortgage payment is $37,900, but your first year appreciation is only still the same at 5.4 per year, $33,480, which means year one. Let me make sure this is plugged in. Mortgage payments. So year one, it should show negative leverage. So I don't know why it's showing this, but it also should tell us when it starts to become positive. But I'm assuming it's showing positive leverage because it's relative to the interest you pay, not necessarily the full payment, because part of the payment is principal pay down. So in this example, with the calculation here, the appreciation, even year one, is still greater than the amount of interest you're paying towards the bank. And of course, the appreciation over 5 years doesn't change. It's still $186,000. By year 5, because rates are a little bit higher, you still have paid principal down by roughly $34,000. And then let's think about the rent scenario. You're still, over those 5 years, if you stayed renting, would pay a sunken cost of $210,000 towards your landlord's mortgage payment.
Yep. And not minus the tax benefits and just building equity.
And if you decide to sell this, right, we didn't even talk about capital gains, exemption, depending on your filing status. I mean, we're not tax or investment professionals here, right? But then these are just numbers that hopefully provide some insight.
Yeah. How about you guys? Like, if the price point was higher, like let's say South City or
Yeah,
some
let's
other-
give a real example. Let's say a house right now you can get in contract for 1.25, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Assuming that the down payment is $1 million.
You mean the loan amount?
Yeah, sorry, the loan amount is $1 million at 80%, and it being jumbo, let's say the interest rate's at 5.5%. Your mortgage payment is $67,000. Your first year appreciation at 5.4% of $1.2 million is also really close at $67,500. It's still, by year one, positive leverage because your cumulative interest payment is right under $50,000, but you would have appreciated in the long run, on average, 5.4%. In 5 years, let's see how much principal pay down you would have had. 339 minus 5, sorry, 259, 339 minus 259. That is $80,000 of principal pay down that you've have in your house, and your house would have appreciated over the long run at 5.4% compounded for 5 years, $375,000. I think the average renter in our area probably pays a little bit more in rents. So let's just say you would pay over those same 5 years, if you stayed a renter, over $240,000, $250,000 in rent. Great examples.
Yep. It's good examples.
Just a little side note here. I think this really talks to a lot of buyers out there just wanting to hold off and save up for their down payment towards their purchase. But this really just shows how much are you really going to be able to save while you're paying rent with inflation. This shows you like it's best to get into a property and have your property help you raise up more down payment for the next purchase.
And
For sure.
I will say there is some merit in trying to time the market, because there are indications on whether a market's going to get better or worse, right, that we can observe. But ultimately, as the saying goes, time in market is more important than timing the market. So,
And I also want to put it out there that a lot of people seem to think that 20% is the minimum down payment, and it isn't. There's down payments like 3.5%, 3%, 5%, 10%, 15%. So don't, if you hear any rumors about 20% down payment, really ask any of us or a lender. They'll have other programs for you.
yeah. Hopefully this is helpful.
Yes.
Always.
Okay, let me